Yeah, you can close the door, thank you.
Pass that back, please.
I call to order the June 20th, 2017 regular meeting of the CUSD 201 Board of Education. If we could have a roll call, please.
Ms. Ambrose. Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mrs. Charlton. Mr. Johnson. Mrs.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, and if everybody could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 16th, 2017 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Aye. Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the May 16th, 2017 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 19th. Was that a special meeting?
It was.
Yeah, that was a special.
A May 19th special meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any public comments this evening? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have personnel recommendations, hiring of licensed staff, Janu Joseph, Assistant Principal, Westmont High School, Megan Vervinick, Teaching and Learning Coordinator, Westmont High School, Brian Dunn, Social Studies Teacher, Westmont High School, Kayla Civic, Summer Reading and Math Teacher, Miller Elementary School, Support Staff, Deborah Davis, Teaching Assistant, South School, Jack Gordon, Temporary Summer Worker, District-Wide, Mitchell Ballack, Summer Football Camp Coach, Westmont High School, Ryan Cahill, Summer Football Camp Coach, Westmont High School, Samantha Bell, Summer Volleyball Camp Coach, Westmont High School. We also have approval of tenure recommendation. Summer school teachers for Holy Trinity Catholic School. Student tour request. Approval of SACID classroom lease. Approval of Westmont High School pool rental. Renewal of student accident insurance. Adoption of 2017-2018 routine business office resolutions. Adoption of prevailing wage resolution. Resolution to abate working cash funds. Approval of May 2017 expenditure report. Approval of June 2017 expenditure report. Ratification of May 2017 regular payroll. Would anyone like any of those items pulled for individual consideration, or is there discussion on any item? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda are discussion and informational items. And the first one is Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation grant for solar panels for Westmont High School.
All right, hang on one second because my iPad's acting up.
Do you want to use mine?
giving me a black screen. Yeah. Okay, the high school, Laura Pergandi at the high school applied for the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation Grant, which gives school districts some funding for the installation of solar panels. And the grant will fund up to $6,700 or 90% of the total project cost, whichever is less. And the purpose of the grant is to provide students with opportunities to learn about science and math in a real-world application, and to become familiar with new technology that is creating jobs in Illinois. So anyway, there are about 400 schools in Illinois that have received funding for this grant and have solar panels in place. And there's a few specific requirements of the grant. They have to implement an online monitoring system of the real-time data. They have to maintain the system and its components in working order. And then they have to teach about solar energy in the classroom, beginning with the 2017-18 school year, and then also educate the community about solar energy. And in order to do this, the high school will need to raise funds for the cost of the project up front before the installation can begin. And Mike Mayoris and I will be working in conjunction with Laura Pergandi on the fundraising, on getting the cost estimates for the project, and then making sure that, working with them to make sure that they get all the grant quarterly reports filed. And we are still waiting on the proposal from the installer. Mike and I and Laura met over a week ago, and we still haven't received the proposal back from them. But again, it has to fall within the parameters of the grant. So we're asking for your approval to accept the grant. And then if something, would happen, it doesn't obligate us to proceed with the grant if something would change. But we're just seeking approval so that they can get rolling and get started with the fundraising and move forward with the project. And they have 1 year to get that complete. And they're looking at putting, at the student entrance side of the building, doing a pole-mounted solar panel. So any other, and then you'll approve it later, but that's basically the bones of the.
Do we know how much money they're gonna need to raise?
No, but probably about $6,000 or $7,000.
Okay.
And then when they raise that, then we'll be reimbursed 90% of that, but then they can use, the school can use that money for other student-based incentive type of things. And Kevin and the high school administration and I will work together on what that money could be used for.
Okay.
So they're basically fundraising for the total cost and then being reimbursed?
Right.
Okay.
That's fine. Good idea.
Okay.
All right, any further comment on that? Next item for discussion or information is Certificate of Excellence.
Okay, and once again, we do the comprehensive annual financial report. We submit that to the Association of School Business Officials International. They review our report, and this is the 11th year that the district has received the award. So it just shows that we go a little bit above and beyond in terms of accountability and transparency to report out the financial happenings in our district. So it's nice to receive that award again.
Very nice, nicely
Yep,
done.
excellent work, thank you. Item number 3, Illinois School Finance Update.
Okay, all right, and then we did this presentation last year because, again, as you know, we've gone through 2 years without a state budget. I did not have an opportunity to listen to the governor tonight before the meeting to see kind of what was going on, but they're calling back special session to hopefully get a budget approved. So we don't know what our funding for next year is going to look like, but in board docs, and unfortunately we can't put this up on the screen because the system isn't working quite right tonight, but if you go into board docs, you'll see the attachment. So I've outlined all of our state and federal revenue that the district receives based on the fiscal year 17 budget. So we receive just under $3 million of federal and state revenue. And so we did a quick analysis to see what our finances would look like if we would not receive any of that $3 million. Fortunately for our district, we should be able to go through May 31st and actually even through June 30th, 2018, without having to issue any type of debt to meet our financial obligations. The one thing that does, though, it obviously decreases our fund balance by $3 million and will actually put us, we won't be in financial recognition anymore. We'll probably be on the financial watch list if we have to do that, as will, I'm sure, many other districts, because they'll all be in the same boat. We have a little bit of cushion even there with our cash flow, and even if we don't receive our early taxes in June, so this year we received $11 million in June of early taxes. Even if we don't receive that, we should still be okay. And again, as long as we really monitor our spending throughout this upcoming fiscal year. But then beyond that, obviously we'll have to make dramatic changes if that happens. This does not take into consideration, if you look at the next page, this doesn't take into consideration if they do anything with Senate Bill 16, which is about a $1.1 million hit to our district, phased in over 4 years. If we have the TRS pension cost shift, that's at a 0.5%, that's a $65,000 additional cost to us each year. And then it, multiplies year 2 would be twice that, et cetera. So it doesn't account for that, and it does not account for a property tax freeze if that goes into play. That's a loss of $230,000 for every 1% of CPI. So there's a lot of different things out there in terms of legislation that may or may not happen. We're still in the holding game, the waiting game, waiting for our legislators to move forward and make some decisions. And so right now, we're aware of what all the things are. They've been, the different financial groups out there have been communicating to superintendents and business managers about possible things to do. Obviously, we'd need to potentially make, some adjustments to our spending this year. We may have to contact the state and try and get waivers for mandated operations, like, obviously transportation is mandated. They're not even sure if they're going to fund that. I just received a communication late this afternoon. They may not do Medicaid funding for school districts for next year. That's about $110,000 that we receive. So there's, all these things looming out there, and until really somebody makes a decision, we're not acting upon it, but we all need to be aware of what the potential impact to our district would be if that happens. And then we have to look at, any of our contracts to see if we can get out of certain contracts, if we're locked into them, what our lead times are, et cetera. And so, hopefully they'll make the right decisions for our school district, and we won't have to look at a lot of these, but we want to make sure that the community knows that there is this potential, for some major changes based on state funding. And again, we're starting our 3rd year with this. And the state also owes us $982,000 of payments for this school year. So typically, by this time, we've at least received the 2nd payment and should be receiving the 3rd, and we've only received one state payment so far for most of our mandated categoricals. So again, we're in a little bit worse financial shape because of the district, just because of the state not paying at the same time frame as they have in the past. And then the last page of this has your legislatures that we encourage board members and the public to reach out to and let them know that we need a budget that will not negatively impact school districts.
Could we put that message out to the community somehow, Kevin, through Parent Link or
We
something?
can.
Okay.
We have in the past.
Yeah, so let's just kind of remind them again, right? Okay.
And I think unfortunately, a lot of families don't really feel the pinch from what's going on in Springfield because things have been moving and kids are attending school and services are still operational, so they think there's really nothing wrong and this is a big, just a bunch of political, battles going on, which that certainly is the case. There are political battles going on, but these are, washing over into significant operations for both state services and school districts now,
Right.
Having this drag on so long, and we can't effectively put together a budget for our students and the services we need to provide, without having that piece. So, writing our representatives is certainly a first step that parents could participate in and let them know, hey, we want to be certain that our schools are going to be funded appropriately as they have always been. And that education in Illinois shouldn't suffer because of a political battle and a political ideology that's being struggled with. So I would strongly encourage any of our parents who could take a few minutes just to write a note to your representative and tell them, you expect a resolution to this. It would be beneficial. So.
And we're fortunate in our district that we can open our doors. There's many districts throughout the state that are looking at their finances to see if they can even open their doors or how long they can open their doors and what they're going to do. So the nice thing about our district is we have the financial wherewithal right now to be able to move forward and aren't having to make some of those decisions right now.
Right, there definitely are districts that will be making cuts if this drags on much longer. The federal funds, is that anticipated we wouldn't receive those because they flow through the state?
They flow through the state. I don't know at what point the federal government may say, hey, if you guys don't have a budget, we're not, going to do it. We are receiving our federal funds right now. It's our state funds that are behind. But again, just showing, the total impact in case somewhere down the line, the federal government says, okay, enough is enough too. We already know that, they're talking about shutting down construction projects because there won't be funding at the end of June. And people who like to play Powerball and the Mega Millions may not be able to do that as well as of the end of June because they've come in and said, hey, we're not going to allow Illinois to participate if they don't have a budget. So other forces out there, other entities out there are starting to put some, parameters and consequences on our state for not having a budget.
And, interestingly, the conversation that is coming out of Springfield has to do with conversations surrounding a property tax freeze. And that really does nothing to solve the state's shortages. And so it sounds good and, but it really wouldn't solve anything of the state and the state's obligations because property taxes go to the local municipalities and school districts. So, and I believe our state is one of the lowest as far as state funding for districts, percentage-wise. So if you're going to talk about fixing high property taxes, you somehow need to make some adjustment in the level of funding that comes directly from the state to districts, which is what we're talking about losing out on here, which right now is about $2.1 million. That would give some relief for property taxes, but I don't hear that conversation going on in what I'm reading about, and so it's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of a diversion, really, to talk about property tax relief fixing the state budget, because it won't. Anyhow, thank you for that update, and We can move on to the next discussion information item, which is the monthly financial statements.
Yes. So the April financial statements are attached for your review. The district received $409,000 from the state this month, and so in April, they finally paid the first quarter categoricals, again, several months late. There's at that time, there were $636,000 of fiscal year 17 payments vouchered but not paid. We know that there's almost just under $1 million vouchered to us at this point right now. We received $280,000 from the state in the ed fund, and they owed $389,000 at that point. And again, we did finally in the transportation fund receive our first quarter of mandated categoricals. And then expenditures in the ed fund are comparable to the prior year. The O&M fund, again, haven't spent as much as we have in prior years, because we paid things out of that fund, capital projects out of that fund last year, but not this year. And then transportation, as of April, we still had not paid the SEPTRAN bills, but I am pleased to tell you we did get them all paid in June. They're on your June bill list, so we're good there. And again, when I just did a quick analysis of kind of where we stand for the year, and it looks like in the ed fund, we're still wrapping up with some final bills and things like that, but we'll probably have about a $300,000 deficit in the ed fund this year. So last year we had a little bit. This year we are showing a deficit where our expenditures are exceeding revenues now, and that's on the cash basis. So if we get some of those state payments, that will look a little bit different. But anyway, any other questions?
Okay, next agenda item is some action items. The first one is approval of the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation grant for solar panels at Westmont High School. This is what we just discussed. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the solar panel grant for Westmont High School as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Knappbush?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Thank you.
Approval of District 201 Title I Plan.
And Nadine Norris is here to just briefly share with the board the Title I
The
plan.
document that you have in your packet is the Title I plan it fits all the requirements of ISBE. At this time, all the school districts in the state have to file this report. It's just a routine, and it's to meet the requirements of ESSA.
Okay.
Great, thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the District 201 Title I Plan as presented.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Knappbush?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Thank you.
Approval of Chromebook purchase with CDWG for Westmont High School. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the Chromebook purchase with CDWG for Westmont High School.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Knappbush?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Thank you.
Approval of authorization to pay additional June 2017 bills for the fiscal year 2017. The chair will entertain a motion to authorize direct the treasurer to pay any additional bills received before June 30th, 2017 that have been budgeted for in the current fiscal year as presented.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Knappbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, approval of non-exempt, does anyone want to discuss any of these, the next two items in closed before we approve them, or?
I looked it over, I was fine with it, but if somebody else wants to, I'm fine.
I'm fine with it.
Fine.
Okay, we'll go ahead then. Approval of non-exempt, non-certified employee salaries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the salaries of non-exempt, non-certified employees as presented.
So moved?
Second?
Roll call.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Knappich.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of administrative salaries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the administrative salaries for the 2017-2018 school year as presented.
So moved?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Knappich.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have the superintendent's report.
A couple items in my report. One is summer school is underway, and it's been an excellent start. And I shared with you for each of the different programs the current enrollment in those. And this is session 1, and then we take a short break, and then we have session 2. But again, our summer school program continues to grow with the number of students. And again, once we get through this summer school, then we will take a step back, review it, and then make some changes for the upcoming year. Also included in the board book is the board calendar for the 17-18 school year. And this is just a calendar we've put together the last couple of years. It just helps the board to anticipate topics and action items they can anticipate at upcoming board meetings. And then it's hard to believe we're only in June, but we need to start planning for the joint conference, which is the Illinois Association of School Board, Illinois Association of School Administrators, and Illinois Association of School Business Officials. This year's conference will be in Chicago, November 17th through the 19th. And if you would like to attend the conference and also need hotel accommodations, if you could let Rima know. The sooner we get our registration in, the better chance we have of securing the hotel accommodations. Right now, the pre-conference workshops haven't been released, but as soon as they are, that information will be shared with the board because, again, those fill up quickly. And that's my report.
Okay. Are there any board reports?
I would just like to thank Hank Vaughn and Matthias Henning. Matthias Henning is the music director of the Walls Road Gymnasium, their high school, and to the member of the host families of Germany that took care of our kids for several days while we were over there. What an experience for everybody. Just great learning experience, great cultural experience. It was just a wonderful time was had by all, and I think it's important to thank the people that arranged that. So
That sounds like that was an excellent
it was
opportunity.
outstanding, yes.
I'd like to echo everything Gary just said. It was phenomenal experience.
Great. Anything else? All right. Is there any public comment? Okay, as far as future meetings, our next school board meeting is July 18th at 7 p.m., Westmont Village Hall. And we will move to closed session. The chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues, student discipline, probable litigation, and security issues.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Knappich.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we have no action items after close.
Okay.
We'll move through it quickly.
Okay.
M-A-T-I-A-S.
It's Mattias. Henning,